Join me as I dive deep, guys, once more, where I'm sharing my personal story on how I created my first online business, right? In this video, I'm going to share what it took for me to enter into the space of creator economy. That space now is currently called personal branding. Guys, I want you to understand that as time goes by, people will change, will give a different name for the same space, right? So the space of personal branding has been around for many years, right? We are seeing it booming currently, because of the world we are living in today, right? So we are seeing a rise of people creating personal brands, right? We are seeing people in the corporate space creating personal brands. We are seeing even presidents, right? Donald Trump, he won the elections, because he had a personal brand, right? We are seeing him, we saw him going to podcast, right? Why would Donald Trump go to podcast? It's because he's using personal branding, to help him gain influence and also, to relate to people. We are seeing guys like Mark Zuckerberg. We are seeing even, billionaires in Africa, around the world, having personal brands, right? So if the rich guys are starting personal brands, what about you and I? Because in most cases, the person who is watching the video is not a billionaire. You might be a millionaire, you might be a multi-millionaire, but in most cases, you are not a billionaire, right? So guys, sometimes you gotta look at what the other guys or the big guys are doing, and you gotta follow through, right? Don't ask why people are doing it. The space of creator economy, it used to be a space where, let's say, people, they will lose their job, right? So they will start to be a creator, as a side thing, right? So people will start a side hustle. That's what it used to be called, things that you can do online to make more money. I don't love that approach, because when you do that, you are actually all over the place. I always encourage people that, no, man, you gotta find, a gap in the market, and then you gotta close the gap through a personal brand, right? So remember, a personal brand closes the gap, which means there is something that you are seeing in the space that is not being catered for, right? And then you cater for that space. So you are not just creating a personal brand to show us the things that you are passionate about. In fact, you can use your passion, right? You can use your gift, but you gotta understand that your gift must close the gap, because the reason why people will buy your stuff, it's because you are supplying on their demand. So you are not just creating stuff because that's what you love, because the things that you love sometimes might not be the things that people want, right? So you gotta be very careful, guys, that you gotta create a product that is in line with the demand. So I made a video, right, where I was sharing my experience, how I got into the creator economy space, right? So I got into the creator economy space back in 2019, right? So I made a video that was like almost an hour, where I was sharing my journey from, high school, varsity, work, until I got into the creator economy space, right? So I'm not going to repeat that because I don't want to be repetitive. But what I want to tell you this, guys, is that as I'm grown, I'm not that grown, but as I grew in the space, right, what I saw is that the best personal brand, right, it's the personal brand that is around. I want you guys to understand this. A personal brand that works best, right, that lasts longer. It's a personal brand that is built around the things that the creator care about, right? So I'm a person who loves to create things long term. That's another thing that I've picked up. That's, don't start a personal brand that you're gonna like focus on for a year. Try to create something that you can still be working on in the next 5 years, right? Because building takes time, and you wanna build building blocks, right? So if you wanna build something for 6 months and then you move to another thing, what's going to happen? You will create a lot of things, but your income level will not reach, or it will not go a certain bar level, because in order for you to increase, you gotta stay in one thing and also look for different ways to scale the thing up. So it's very difficult to scale if you're always changing, right? If you're looking at people who are scaling their online businesses, they are focusing on one thing, and as time goes by, they are starting to add, different aspects to their business, right? So I shared a story. Go check that video. Click, it's in the description, where I was sharing my testimony, how I got into the creator economy, right? So I shared that around 2018, 2019, that was my space where I was launching. That was a time in my life where I was launching in the space, right? So, guys, that's when you are launching in a space, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of things that you don't know. There's a lot of fear, but also there's a lot of hope, right? Because you just saw something from somebody and you got inspiration, but it's just that you are a novice. You are inexperienced in the field. So that's where a lot of fear and uncertainty comes from, that you are just launching out into the space. So as much as you have done your homework, but there's that element that you are going to learn, right? So I want to talk to somebody. Maybe you're watching this video. There's an idea that doesn't make you to sleep at night. There's something that you want to start, that you want to do, right? I want to give you courage. Let's go for it. Go for it. As you are watching this video, maybe you have done your homework, right? Maybe you have studied people in your space, right, who are doing what you want to do. Maybe you've already done that homework, but now you want to launch out. I want to give you this, that when you launch, I tell people that there's something called the beginner's luck, right? So the beginner's luck, I think it's a way of life, that tells that person who is launching out that, no, man, go for it. The first attempts, there are things that will happen by luck, because the universe sees, that you don't know a lot. To some people, they call it faith, right? To others, they will say universe can see, or God can see, that you are launching out into the space. So I want to tell you, as you're watching this video, that don't be afraid to launch into the space. And also, there is no amount of preparation, right? There's a certain level that you need to reach after you've done your homework, right? Because another thing with people is that they will focus more on doing their homework, right? Studying the people who are in the space, but they will be afraid to take the first step because they have fear, right? Guys, whether you are starting out in business, whether you are 5 years in business, whether you are 10 years in business, there will always be some things that you don't know, right? I tell people that faith will be very important when you are starting an online business, right? The space of entrepreneurship will cause you to depend on God. There's a scripture, I think it's in Proverbs 3 verse 5. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. And it says, lean not in your own understanding. So when you look at that scripture, it tells you that whenever you want to launch into the space, you got to look at the condition of your heart, right? Because you trust God with your heart, not with your mind, right? Because your mind will have questions. Your mind will have, what if this happens, but your heart, right? If your heart is at peace, go for it. If your heart has joy, go for it. In most cases, joy comes from seeing the earning potential, right? That's why it's very important that you gotta study the other guides so that you can see the earning potential of the space that you are trying to launch into. So for me, I remember a time in 2019, right? So in 2018, I was teaching kids, right? I was teaching kids, empowering them, teaching them math and physics, right? Because I just left the company, SAPI, right? So when I was at SAPI, I was earning, when I left the company back in late 2017, I was earning 32,000 rands, right? That was a very big money back in the days, right? I was young because engineering is one of the, I'll say it's one of the good careers, right? So if you're an engineer, you will live a good life, as a middle class, right? I mean, until you are burdened with a lot of responsibilities, right? But that's a story for another day, right? But you will earn a good money. It's one of good careers, right? So that's why I was earning a lot of money, even though I was in a graduate program, right? So I mean, crazy. I still have my pay slips, right, with me, from that time, right? Because I love to keep stuff, right? I love to keep stuff because, guys, you gotta understand this with life. It doesn't matter if you're not doing what you used to do. Don't throw away your stuff, because your stuff are your stuff. That is your testimony. You gotta make sure that you gotta deal with bitterness. That your past must not. When you look at it, you must have gratitude. That, you know what, God, I thank you that I was in that space. This is what happened. I enjoyed it that time, but now I'm here. So I don't want to tell you that, when you are working a 9 to 5 or when you are still at your job, you are stuck. No, 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 no. Where you have been, you needed that time at that time. Though now it might be a different time, right? So that's why I keep the pay slips, And then what happened in 2018, there was a huge salary drop, right? Even though I was in my calling, I was launching out into the space of empowering people, because in the previous video, I mentioned a pattern when it comes to my life, right? I'll be a student of something, right? And then number two, I'll put my efforts into it. I would learn, I'll make mistakes until I become an expert, right? That's a pattern of my life. Then once I'm an expert, right? I'm not saying that when I'm an expert, like I know it all, meaning I'll find a way to master a thing, right? That's what I'm trying to say. That's the idea of being an expert. So I'll find a way to master a thing, right? And after I've mastered a thing, I've always have that desire to share that information with other people. So when I share or when I empower people, that's what we call empowerment. That's my calling, right? So basically, I want to tell you this, that there is a behind the scene, behind your calling, right? Behind my calling of empowering people, number one, I need to be a student, right? I can't work my calling if I'm not a student, right? I'm a student, so which means I'm being empowered by other people. So I'm learning from other people's callings, right? And then they empower me, right? So, and then I learn until I become an expert, meaning I'll find a way, I will learn from somebody, I will do it, and while I'm doing it, I'll face challenges until I find a way, until I find a way to master the thing. And after I've mastered the thing, then the calling will click. You see, where I need to empower other people with what I've mastered. So that you don't just step into your calling. There is a behind the scene in your calling. For me, the behind the scene, it's when I'm a student. It's when I'm becoming an expert. But when I'm empowering people, that's when people say I'm in my calling. So don't get this thing twisted of a calling. You see, a calling is a combination of you being developed and also making a contribution. So a calling needs both, right? You need to be developed. You also need to contribute, because you can't just contribute without being developed. And also, if you will focus more on developing yourself without contribution, you will find no fulfillment, and also you won't make money in the process, right? So there was a salary drop, right, from 32,000 to 4,000, because I had like 20 to 25 kids, right, back in 2018 that I taught, where I was teaching maths and physics, right, because I was good in those subjects, right? Remember, at high school, I had a great teacher who taught me maths and physics, right? And then I became a good student. I found interest in the subjects, and I became an A student, right? Because now I was an A student, I started teaching in the class. You see, that's the pattern of my life, right? I'll be exposed to a great teacher, be a good student, learn, become an expert, and then share to other people. I don't say I want to share it to other people. I'm usually called because of my results. People will be like, come, man, come and share, because it means like you are great in this. So tell other people how you are doing it. And when I do that, I get empowered in terms of being fulfilled, because I see a change that is happening to other people. The reason why I'm making these videos is because, guys, I want to see a change in your life, right? So what happened, though I was empowering people in 2018, but there was a salary drop, right? And 2019, I launched my first business, right? I'm gonna show you the business that I launched, right? It was called Educated Trader. So basically what I did, I was trading Forex. You know, it was a booming thing back in 2015 to 2018 in South Africa. So a lot of people were jumping on it. People who were working, they were jumping on it. A lot of money was made. Also, a lot of money we lost, right? Now, I went through it, and then, I was like, you know what, why don't I just take this material? Why don't I take my experience and make a material? So I did that, and then I created courses, 5 courses, because I was being exposed to the space of creating online courses, right? I was exposed to the space of creator economy. So I was only exposed to the space of creating courses, right? There are many things that you can do in the space of the creator economy. But for me, because I was already a teacher, right, that's the space I was exposed to. So I started the business in 2019. I remember before launching the business, right, I went to one of the top varsity in KwaZulu-Natal, right? It's called the University of KwaZulu-Natal, right? So I went, you know, because I was like, though I was in my calling, but I was very angry in terms of the drop in the salary, right? Because now remember, I moved from 32,000 to 4,000. So I was like, you know what, why don't I go and, you know, upgrade to... So in South Africa, there was a certificate that was called PGCE, right? So let's go on Google and check what did it stand for. So if, let's say, maybe you had a degree, right, some qualification, and you wanted to be a teacher. So in South Africa, you had to have a certificate that was called PGCE, right? Postgrad PGCE, right? PGCE UK is its N, right? So let's just check it up, right? So it was a postgrad certificate in education. So which usually took a year, right? And then after you've done that certificate, you will take your degree or your undergrad certificate, you combine the two, and then you can get a job and work as a teacher. So I went to UK, as I said, in 2019, right? In Jan, even though I was teaching the kids last year, I'll tell you the truth, guys. The reason why I went to UK, as I said, it's because I was like, yes, I'm being fulfilled, but I'm not making money. So I was like, if I get a job as a teacher, let's check the teacher's salary, high school teacher salary in South Africa. I want to check high school teacher salary, South Africa, right? So let's check how much teachers are earning, right? So because that's what I wanted to do, right? So currently they are earning on average between 193,000 to 226,000, right? So back in 2020, maybe it was a different brackets, right? So let's say I wanted to earn this much, right? So let's go to the calculator, and then let's click 210. So 230, maybe let's take the average, 200,000, right? 200. Okay, let me say 200,000, right? 200,000 divided by 12, right? So I was going to earn roughly 15,000 rand, which was better than the money I was making teaching kids, right? So when I was teaching kids, I was earning 4,000, right? Because I was charging them 300 per month, and I was only teaching them for 3 days in a month, right? So I was like, you know what, let me just go and do this certificate so that at least I can earn 17,000, right? Teachers now, I think they earn like 22,000 in South Africa. Obviously, as you grow, the money can go up. but the teacher's salary, the salary that I was going to make was not going to match the salary of I got as an engineer, right? So when I said, because now I went to UKZN to do this certificate, right? I joined, I went for the orientation. So you will visit, you'll go for an orientation for a day where they will introduce a program and then you will register, right? So I went to UKZN, and then when I was there, sitting in the lecture hall, right, where many people were there, right, something in me was like, no. My intuition was like, no, and I'm telling you the truth, guys, that's what happened. My intuition, my heart was like, no, this is not for you, right? There was a huge, rejection of that for me. Yes, I was going to do what I love, meaning I was going to be in the space of my calling, but the approach was not the one for me, So my intuition was like, no. And what happened, I came back. I didn't go for the program. I didn't do the program, right? So basically, guys, me not enrolling for that, it made me to focus more on launching the business, right? Educated Trader in 2019, right? Now that business, at this point, it has made me like $3,000. I will show you in the next videos when I go deep in terms of how much I've made, right? And I'll explain how I made that money online. Now, when I look back, I'm like, why didn't I take the route? What happened? Why did my intuition said no at that time? Guys, even till today, I don't know why my heart said no, right? But when I look at it, I'm like, when I look at it now, because I can't say much about the journeys that I didn't go through. So, but I'll appreciate that even if I took that journey, I wasn't going to be exposed, or I wasn't going to make more money as I've did through the space that I traveled, right? So I want to share this, guys. In your calling, right, it's one thing to find your calling, but it's another thing to find an approach that will make you to execute your calling in a way that you're going to make a great impact, and also in a way that you're going to make more money. I'm going to tell you this as a teacher, right? There are 3 ways that you can follow to make money as a teacher. Number 1, you can be a teacher, right? Whether it's high school, whether it's the university level. That's rule number 1. That's the level number 1, right? When you follow that approach, it doesn't matter how much you earn, you're going to have a capping in your earning potential, right? Let's say you work at the university, right, as a professor. So what's going to happen, you can build yourself up and become a professor or whatever, right? Let's say you become a lecturer. There will be an earning potential. There will be a cap that you're going to reach, right? So that is number 1. You can be a high school teacher or you can be a university lecturer. There's going to be an earning potential. Number 2, you can open, right, a tuition school, right? You can work as a tutor. Also, if you work as a tutor, you're going to have a limitation, because what's going to happen is that also your earning potential will be kept, because you are fixing your services to people in one geographical area, right? So your pricing will be affected by the social status, right, of the people that you are tutoring or that you are mentoring. That's why I tell people that as a teacher, it's good to tutor people, but you gotta understand that you won't make a lot of money, because your earning potential will be determined by the social status of the people that you are tutoring, right? If you are tutoring people from disadvantaged backgrounds, you can't charge them more. So you will find yourself that you will drop your pricing, meaning you will lower your service package. You will sacrifice your money for purpose. That's what's going to happen when you take that route of tutoring, right? Also, when you open a company, a tutoring company, right, you can have a bunch of students. There are many people, there are great teachers who have a tutoring company, right? Also, having a tutoring company, your earning potential will be limited, because now when you are tutoring people, again, you will be affected by the social status, right, of the students that you are tutoring, because obviously you will be focusing on the students that are in your geographical area, right? So obviously, I mean, you can make more money if you have a tutoring school, because you will have more kids coming in. But now the problem is that you will have to have other tutors. So now you will have to pay other people, right? So also that approach is not good, because your earning capital or your earning potential, right, will be limited. The third approach, it's the best approach if you are a teacher, if you are an instructor, if you are a trainer, if you are a coach. The third approach is the best. In fact, this third approach does not have a cap in your earning potential, right? And now I think that's the reason why my journey had to go through the way it went through, right? So the third approach is you becoming an online teacher, or you becoming a teaching entrepreneur, meaning you are using the online tools to teach, right? So you can use tools like Teachable, Thinkific, right, to create programs. Now, what is nice is that you create the program once, but you sell it forever, meaning you don't have to do a lot of modifications. Or you can use a platform like YouTube. Now, what is nice with YouTube is that you can create the video once, but now that video will not only reach the students in your geographical area, but it will reach the global market, right? What is nice with YouTube as an online educator or as an instructor is that you can start to teach people in other countries, right? In the next video, I will show you the geographics of my students, right? Because the majority of my students in educated trader in my first business, a lot of them, they came from the United States of America. The second one, they came from United Kingdom, UK. I mean, I think I only have, like, out of 630 students, I only have few students from South Africa, right? So using the online space as an instructor, it will make you to become a millionaire, right? So if you want to ask me, what is the best way to become a millionaire as an instructor? It is to start an online business. That's it. That's the best way, right? You don't have to be a professor. I'm telling you, remember, being a professor is just a title, but your calling is still the same. Whether you are teaching schools, you are teaching kids in high school, or you are teaching kids in the university, it's just the same thing. It's just a different title. You know, as a professor, yes, in the society you will earn good respect because you spent more time studying. But remember, guys, we don't want to spend more time studying. We want to find ways to make more money. You see, it's not about studying more, but it's being in your calling and also making more money, right? Now, the problem with most people won't take, you know, what I'm sharing in this video, because when they experience a salary drop, you know, they don't want to stay in the path, even if they know that is a good path, because they've seen a drop in their earning potential. That's why many people, they've became lost. You know, they found a good approach, but now, because now they had to go through the journey of learning about that space, they won't be patient, they won't enjoy, you know, the times where they are earning little to no money, because they are always rushing to earn, right? So that's what happened to me, guys. I almost became a high school teacher. If I did that, maybe I wasn't going to become, you know, the entrepreneur or the creator that I am now. Maybe I wasn't going to build a personal brand, Tim Shozi, because I would have taken a different path, right? So when I look back, I was like, I thank God for my intuition, right? Because some of the things, once you need to understand, guys, that says we are moving in the creator economy space, you also need to listen to your intuition, because your intuition will help you a lot in terms of validating your ideas, validating the products that you need to make, You know, it's one of the area that most people don't talk about. But when you listen to the successful guys, they will tell you that, you know, they did that product because their intuition helped them. Yes, they did the market research, you know, they also checked, they validated stuff, but they also listened to their intuition, right? So I want to show you guys, I did that. I launched my first business. I've already mentioned, educated trader, where I was trading, you know, forex. Then I started empowering people back in the days, right? So guys, I want to encourage you that, you know, I mean, if you can find a way to share what you know, I'm telling you, you will find a huge change in your income level, right? So I'm opening up Udemy, right? So it's just taking some time. So I'm opening up Udemy, right? So when you go to Udemy and then you type my name, right? When you type my name, then you will see these courses, right? So these are the 5 courses that I did, right? When I had the company Educated Trader, right? I thank God that I did this because it taught me a lot about the creator economy space, right? Remember guys, this was my first business, so I was launching out into the space, right? There was a room for me to grow, but it was good for me because I was going to test, you know, and taste the money in the space of my calling. So I did that. Let me show you the stats. I did that, guys. I'm rating 4.3 on Udemy. I have 158 reviews. I have 630 students, and I have 5 courses, right? So this is what I did. If I became that teacher in 2019, God knows that maybe I wasn't going to launch this business. And if I didn't launch this business, I wasn't going to learn about the space of creator economy. I wasn't going to learn about the space of personal branding. I wasn't going to learn about the space of online education. So as I'm sharing this testimony, guys, I want you to find healing in your missed opportunities, right? Because there are opportunities when you look at your life, you are like, you missed this opportunity, you know. But God knows that you were doing the right thing, but you were in a place of limited earning potential, right? So the space of online education, man, the earning potential is unlimited. Having an online business, the space is very unlimited, right? So this is the business I did, you know, back in the days, right? And it's kind of like propelled me to the space of understanding that, okay, you can build a personal brand around you know, what you love, but also put yourself in a space where you can make more money, right? So I did this business by checking, you know, the trend that was happening at that time, because forex trading, there was a huge demand for that in 2019, right? As you can check here, right, this was around from 75% to 100%, which means a lot of people were looking to be educated in the space, right? So even though I was teaching, but I was fulfilling a demand, right? So the courses were speaking directly to the demand, you see. So that's business for me, because remember, as an entrepreneur, you are fulfilling a demand with your service. So I was creating these courses, and the reason why people bought, the reason why I had like almost 700 students up till today, it's because people were responding, you know, or there was a demand. Yes, there were many creators in the space. If you can go on Udemy and check now, there are many creators, right? So it doesn't matter, guys, the saturation of the market. The key is if there's a lot of demand, you can also get the piece of the pie, right? So that was forex trading, man, back in 2019, but I stopped the business, and I'll share in the next videos when I go into details in terms of how much money I've made and also why I stopped the business, right? I'm not selling these courses currently, but I left them on Udemy because I thought, you know what, maybe there's somebody who still looks for good information, right? So let me just leave them there, even though I took the website down. So what I did on top of that, I created a website, right, using Elementor Pro, WordPress, and Bluehost, right? But I took the website down around 2021. I ran the business for like 2 years, right? So, and I took the business down because I felt like the niche was not my calling, you know. So I'll share in the upcoming videos why it's very important that you must pick a niche that is around your calling, so that you can focus on that niche for a longest time. So guys, that was my testimony. That was my journey. That's how I got into the space of online education, right? First, I discovered that there was a pattern in my life. I will become a good student, I will become an expert, and I will empower people, right? So that was my pattern. That's the pattern of my life. I did it 10 years ago. I still do it today. You know, it sounds too easy. I know it sounds too easy, but that's what your life is supposed to be, man. Because to become a student, it takes effort, right? To implement, learn, go through failures and successes until you become an expert, it takes effort and discipline, right? And then once you're an expert, to empower others, it also takes effort. So every level, being a student, becoming an expert, and empowering people, it takes effort, right? So I want you to find the pattern for your life. You know, maybe you are not an instructor. Maybe you are good, you know, with starting businesses, right? Maybe you are doing drop shipping. Maybe you are doing e-commerce. Maybe you are doing other stuff, man. Because remember, the area of personal branding is very huge. But what I wanted to tell you or to show you in this video, that's your intuition will help you navigate your way around the creator economy. So if you have had missed opportunities before, don't cry over those missed opportunities, because God knows that even though you wanted to do a right thing, but that approach was going to cap your earning potential. Remember guys, you want to be in a space where your earning potential is not limited, because we all want to make a lot of money. Even the rich guy wants to make a lot of money. The poor guy wants to make a lot of money. The rich guy wants to make a lot of money. So you gotta be in a space where you are not capping your earning potential, right? So the one financial advice I can give to anybody who's watching this video is that whatever that you are doing, gotta make sure that you are focusing on something that doesn't cap your earning potential, right? And for me, as an instructor, that space is the creator economy. Creating content for me doesn't have an earning potential, right? Because if I sell a product that is worth $1,000, right, and I'm creating YouTube videos, yes, my product might be expensive for a person in South Africa, but the person who is in America can afford it because they are in a first world country. You see, so you gotta make sure that you gotta be very careful. And I love the internet because it has opened, I love social media because it has opened opportunities to average people to reach millions and millions of people, to make an impact and also to make a contribution. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hit me in the comments, tell me about your missed opportunities, tell me about your own experiences, the things that you felt like you almost took that decision but you didn't. You know, share in the comments. I want to hear your stories, because this is not just me sharing my story, but I want to also learn about the things that you have experienced. So thank you so much guys, and I will see you in the next video.